I'm 25 years old this year. My career just started. I mean, I graduated from high school, went to college for 5.5, 6 years. Took my time. It was a 4-year degree, but took my time. And in the process, I worked non-stop part-time jobs starting from when I was about 19. So I tried a lot of different things. You know, I did delivered tofu, worked a lot of just entry-level service-based jobs. So that's where I kind of built my people skills, and I'm very grateful for that. But I quickly learned that it's a horrible life to really, be at the bottom of a company, especially you're extremely replaceable. So I started looking at what people actually get paid most to do in companies. So that led me to work more on my communication skills as well as leadership skills. So during university, that's what I focused on most. So leadership skills, communication skills. After that, I graduated, and right now, I'm not sure if you know this, but millennials kind of go through what we call a quarter-life crisis, where there's too many people with degrees and you don't know exactly what you're doing. That's kind of what I went through, so I kind of jumped on the first thing that came up, which was being a part of a startup, a mobile gaming startup. And for 2 years, I worked full-time. It was like 7 days a week, more than like 50 hours a week, every single Friday night from 7 till 9 p.m., every single Saturday from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m., every Sunday night too. And this was before I met Dan. I was actually really struggling with my career. And that's why I was kind of like just jumping on a bunch of different projects all at the same time, none of them really going anywhere. So that's kind of where I was at before I met Dan. That's where I was at a point in my life, I was just struggling. I'm like, okay, I need someone who's been there and done that with the lifestyle that I want. Because that's the shortest way to do anything, right? Figure out who has done it before you and just copy and paste. So I went on to Google and I just Google searched Vancouver millionaire. And I just kind of went down the list of every single person I could find, came across Dan's website. Of course, you're skeptical at first. You're like, who is this guy involved in so many different companies? He has like a jewelry business, table tennis. What the hell, that's kind of weird. But got past that skepticism, went to his first event, and really started I got a lot out of the first event, and that's why I kept on just coming back to events. And after a couple months, I was like, oh my God, I have so much I can learn from Dan. And that's why I approached him, like, hey Dan, can you help me with my career? And every single time I went with a question to him, he always answered it, but also gave me so much more than I expected. You know how you kind of always have an answer you kind of expect before you talk to somebody, right? He gave me so much more than I expected, and I was like, holy crap, I have a lot to learn. And since then, eventually, under Dan's mentorship, he eventually took me in his mentorship program, and it was by far the best decision I've ever made. At first, it was scary because there's upfront commitment that you have to do. And, it's a sizable chunk of my income. I wasn't making that much. And since joining his mentorship program, what happened was, first of all, I didn't have a skill set before. So I was kind of like young, hungry, and with the startups I was working with, I was just doing everything, With the startup, you kind of just put on a lot of different hats and you try to do everything. I didn't have a high income skill or something that I could just bring that can make me money for life, essentially. And immediately after working with Dan, he started figure out what my strengths are, what my weaknesses are. He's very upfront about it. So it's good to have that kind of relationship with someone who's been there and done that, who can also judge you on your business skills and say, okay, you should put your energy into this and into that. So if you don't have that in your life, really you're missing out quite a bit. So I got that, then that's kind of why I joined the mentorship program in the first place. And I just kept on, I leveraged him as much as possible. I just kept asking him as many questions. Whenever I had any kind of doubt, I'm like, oh, should I take on this new client? Oh, the client is asking me to do this, how should I handle it? It's just so good. It's like having your personalized Google that just knows you and knows all your problems and challenges, and also can plan out a vision and a roadmap for you. So that was extremely helpful. And since then, I picked up the skill in copywriting, something that I had no idea even existed prior to meeting Dan. And since day one, Dan has been giving me clients. So literally, he's not only gave me a new skill set, but he's given me the clients, and these clients are paying me money So, I mean, he built an entire career, he built my entire career just like by himself. And since then, those clients have referred me to other clients as well. And literally everywhere I go now, I can tell people proudly, hey, when people ask you, hey, what do you do? Before I'll be like, oh, I'm just a hungry guy that wants to get into business, right? Now I can say I'm a copywriter and I have this to offer, I have this marketing skills. And when people talk to me, they can tell that I'm being coached and that I have expertise and a lot of value to offer. And that's all because of what I learned from Dan and also being a part of his inner circle group, as well as just surrounding myself with also other people in his network who are also very, very smart as well. When you first meet a serial entrepreneur, you think, okay, what exactly do they do? Because you're not sure. They're involved with so many different things, and you think, okay, what I'm seeing online, this can all be constructed. This could all be fake. All these images, all you have to do is pay a photographer and you slap on a couple of companies' names on your website and there you go, right? So that's what I originally thought, and I think that's what a lot of people actually think when they go on to not just Dan's website, but any kind of serial entrepreneur's website. You're like, okay. But how I got over that fear, it took a very long time, not gonna lie. It took just, first of all, a little bit of faith, right? So, you can't have faith and fear at the same time. So, okay, I'm like, what's the worst that can happen, essentially? So I came out, I emailed Dan, I'm like, hey, let's meet up. And he was like, no, we're not meeting up. He's like, come to my event. And I said, okay, I'll come to your event. So step one, so it's kind of like baby steps, right? Still extremely skeptical. Go to his event. And like I mentioned earlier, right off the bat, I got a lot out of the first event. But I'll tell you, even at the event, I was extremely skeptical because you know what I saw? What I saw was a bunch of people who's already worked with Dan a lot, and they were just praising him. And there was this one guy with a mustache, older gentleman, 50-something years old, with glasses, and he literally got on the mic and started crying and tearing up while he was just saying how Dan changed his life. So imagine me, I'm the first time going to Dan's event, and there's this dude crying, and in my head I'm like, what the hell, this is not normal. Like, this is totally staged. So that's what was going through my head. So it actually took months. Good thing Dan was having these events, I think it was twice a month back then at VEG, Vancouver's Entrepreneurs Group. And I just kept coming because I got a lot of it, and I enjoy meeting other people at the meetings as well, because they're happy people, they own businesses, it's very interesting. So that's why I kept coming back. Came partly because of Dan, but also for the other people in the group as well. It takes time, honestly. And then it got to a point where I'm like, every single question that I ask Dan, he's able to just blow my mind with his answer. And every single person I talk to about Dan and how they always tell me they changed their business. Through that entire process, then I was like, okay, you know what? This guy is the real deal. So, and then at that point, it's just like, I don't even think anymore. Whenever Dan tells me to do something, I just do it. So that was kind of my process from moving from fear all the way to where it is today, which is just absolute faith. So first word that comes into mind, I'm just going to speak very unfilteredly, is mentor. And this is something that I should bring up, because when you think, if you've never experienced mentorship with Dan, it's very, very different than what you probably have in your mind. Before getting into the mentorship program, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to join this program, and whenever I have questions, I would ask him business-related questions. But the truth is, I've gotten so much help outside of business as well. For example, questions like work-life balance, questions like meeting expectations of family members, all these kind of things that you don't kind of directly think about when you think about a business mentor. I also go to a Dan because he's able to give so many answers. He's been through it before. I mean, I don't know how many businesses he's ran in the past, but he's worked with a lot of different types of people, been in a lot of different situations and business dynamics, things like that. So definitely when I think of a word to describe my relationship with Dan, it would be someone that I really trust, and basically the first person I go to whenever I have a question. Like I said earlier, it's kind of like highly personalized Google where I ask him anything, and if he doesn't have the direct answers, at least he can give me some insight of just a different perspective, right? Because a lot of times that's what we need. We need a different way of viewing things, and Dan has been through so many businesses and he has so much experience in so many different industries that he's always able to provide a new perspective. So I think that's extremely valuable. How has working with Dan changed the way I do business? Well, to be honest, it changed everything. There's just so much that you don't know in business and marketing and sales, which is what I learned mostly personally, what I get from Dan, which is just marketing and sales. I had no direction or career. All I had was an end goal in mind. All I knew was I wanted to make money and I wanted to be involved with a lot of businesses, but I have no idea how to get there. So working with Dan, how he shaped my career was he literally showed me what was possible. It's something that you can't really fake, and I hope that whoever's watching this can really understand that, if you're struggling, the worst thing you can do is really hide and keep to yourself. You need help, let's just face it. That's why I got in contact with Dan, and it's made all the difference. So Danlock Inner Circle, it's gotten better and better since day one. When you're in Danlock Inner Circle, what you have access to is really his brain and also his network, not to mention his network, which is really, really powerful. My favorite part is definitely seeing how Dan faces and answers business challenges. So in DLIC, not only do you get to share your own problems and challenges with the group, with the other members of DLIC and also Dan, but you also get to see other people's challenges and also hear what Dan has to say to their problems as well. So I really enjoy that process, just watching how he answers and helps other entrepreneurs. I recommend Dan to other entrepreneurs because he provides just guidance and clarity, and really he's there to help you, specifically you. You're not buying into kind of like a system where you kind of have to figure things out yourself. It's really a handheld process. I remember at certain points, I've worked with Dan for about a year now. At certain points where I'm in major transition stages, I literally email him every day, and he gets back to me extremely quickly with valuable advice. So in terms of the entrepreneurs who are thinking about either working with Dan or joining DLIC, what do you have to lose? Just put down your ego and see and find out for yourself what he's actually all about. He probably has something extremely valuable that you can use right away. If he doesn't, he can point you to somebody in his network who can help you right away. And it's not just a short-term gain, but long-term gain as well. Just from myself in the past year, I can see such a huge shift in mentality. Before it's thinking in a certain way, but Dan was able just to expand my thinking and see what is possible in so many different ways and grow me personally as a business person, entrepreneur, whatever you want to call it.